These 3 banks will approve a new LLC with $20,000 in credit without proof of income. That means as soon as you form the business, you can go out and find funding without bringing in 12 months worth of bank statements. And you don't need to have all your financial paperwork together or print out a profit and loss sheet before applying. They all come with 0% interest for up to 13 months too. That's free money to invest in your business for over a year. And these 3 banks will let you open up a business bank account on day 1 and get approved for business credit on the same day. Now, first is Truist Bank. They operate mostly in the South and East Coast. And here's what the first business owner had to say about their experience with Truist. They said, "So last year I made the big move to the West Coast of Florida. I needed a local bank because guess what? Neither Citibank or US Bank, my old buddies, had branches here. I ended up choosing Truist and opened both a personal and business checking account with both of them. Get this, while I was setting these up, they told me I was pre-approved for a credit card. I was like, thanks, but no thanks, since I already had more cards than I could juggle. But here's the twist. 6 months later, I thought, why not? And decided to go for a business card. I had a chat with my banker, who was also the branch manager, and applied right there. And bam, I got instant approval, though they didn't mention any credit limit. Just a week later, I got the card with a sweet $10,000 limit. It's pretty clear to me that Truist is all about those personal banking relationships. Oh, and by the way, my Equifax score was sitting at a 786. Now, pre-approval during account opening is a big deal to watch out for. It's super helpful because it takes away all the guesswork about whether you'll get approved or not. This way, you don't have to worry about wasting a hard credit pull only to end up getting denied. Generally, a standard pre-approval means you've got like a 90% chance of getting the thumbs up. And if a banker in branch gives you pre-approval verbally, I bet it's even more of a sure thing. And hey, speaking of doing this in branch, one thing I really appreciate and not many people talk about is actually going into the branch and chatting it up with the banker. It's a great way to build a relationship and make a good impression. This person was really lucky to sit down with the branch manager who had the final say on their approval. So if anything was off with their application, they could make their case right then and there, instead of just crossing their fingers and hoping for the best. And here's another data point for you. They said, I went for it and got myself a Truist business card. I used my personal Equifax report for the application. And guess what? I got approved for a $10,000 starting limit on this card. That's a pretty cool milestone for me, and I'm looking forward to seeing how far I can take this account. Just to give you an idea, my credit situation looked like this: an Equifax score of 754, a debt to income ratio sitting at a neat 8%, and I had 4 inquiries on Equifax. It required a hard pull and a personal guarantee too. Now, I was new to them, so I kicked things off by opening a business checking account, and then on the very same day, I applied for the business credit card. And I also shuffled some money over using Zelle from my other business account. Now, have you guys noticed something about the starting credit limits too? It looks like they all kick off at around $10,000. That's really good. No one wants to be stuck with a credit limit that's too low, especially when you're trying to run a business. And you might think it takes forever to build up a relationship with the bank, but guess what? Often all you need to do is open and fund your accounts. You could get approved for business funding right away. No need to hang around waiting for months. And here's what another business owner said. So I went on a bit of a business card spree, and let me tell you, it's been quite the adventure. I've been laying low in the credit world, gardening for over a year, and my scores finally crossed into the 800s across the board. Patience really does pay off. First up, I took a swing at the GM business card. They did a soft pull on TransUnion and offered a $1,000 starting limit. That kind of left me scratching my head, especially with that 19.2% APR, but hey, it's a start. Then I hit up Truist for their business platinum card and got a sweet $15,000 starting limit. I didn't stop there though, and applied for a personal card with them too. That's when I got another $15,000 starting limit, and the best part is, it was a combined hard pull on Equifax. And just so you know, my current FICO 8 scores as of September 2023 are TransUnion at 834, Equifax at 831, and Experian at 831. Now, this person mentioned that they had been in the garden for over a year. Now, if you're not in the loop, being in the garden means you're taking a break from applying for credit. It's all about protecting and building up your score. And this is a really smart move, especially when you're aiming to rack up a lot of credit quickly. See, every time you apply and you get a new hard credit pull, that can drag down your score. So you want your credit report looking as pristine as possible before you start diving into big funding sequences or you go on an application spree. And I think it was super clever of them to use the same hard credit pull twice for both the personal and business credit cards. They snagged 2 credit cards with just 1 hard inquiry. Now that's what we call a double dip, and that's definitely a high level move. The best thing you can do before applying for funding is to open a business checking account and fund it with the minimum balance. That's usually somewhere between $50 and $100. The more you deposit and the more frequently you do it, the better your odds of getting approved with higher credit limits. And depositing money into your account is one of the best ways to gain favor with the bank and build a relationship fast. I like to use a bank funding checklist to evaluate every bank and determine if it's a good option for my business. Here's everything that I think about to evaluate Truist Bank. Does the bank service your geographic area? You want to check the locations page on the Truist website. And then I found that Truist has no annual fee rewards cards with 0% APR terms up to 12 months. So yes, I'm interested. Then do you already have a relationship with this bank that you can use to your advantage? Now, personally, I have no relationship with Truist to leverage, but this is more for building a funding sequence where you can rapidly apply for credit over a short period of time. I talk about this a lot in my business funding workshop, but the idea is you prioritize banks you already have relationships with to speed up approval times. The next thing I would ask is, what type of bank is this? Is it nationwide, regional, or is it a credit union? Now, I found out that Truist is a regional bank since it's available all up and down the East Coast. Now, if you were focusing on fast funding, then you'd apply for nationwide banks first, then regional banks, and then community banks and credit unions last. Using this order is better because nationwide banks tend to be more inquiry sensitive than regional and community banks. Another question I would ask is, what bureau does it pull from? Does it pull from Experian, Equifax, TransUnion? Does it pull all 3, or is it just a soft credit pull to apply? We learned earlier that it pulls from Equifax every single time. So that answers that question. Now, do they use Elan, or is there a third-party underwriter, or do they self-underwrite? Now, the quick answer here is no, they don't use Elan. And if you don't know already, Elan is a third-party underwriter that a lot of small banks have contracts with to handle their credit card programs. It's really hard to get more than 2 Elan-backed cards, so it's good to know when you reach your limit and when to avoid applying for any new cards with Elan. You can find out if your card is backed by Elan by searching the card's terms of service for the term Elan. What I would do is go to the webpage and just hit Control F and then type in Elan to find out. Next, do they let you double dip and get approved for more than 1 credit card product with just 1 hard inquiry? And we learned earlier that you can double dip and get approved for a personal and business card using only 1 hard pull from Equifax. This is why gathering data points can be so important. And keep in mind, you can ask most of these questions directly to your business banker in person or over the phone. And moving on, do they have any sensitivities? Like, are they sensitive to having slightly more inquiries than normal, or are they sensitive to having a short time in business? We saw someone get approved with 4 inquiries reporting and only 2 months in business. So there's really no sensitivities found with Truist Bank as of yet. Another thing I consider is, do they have any weird bank-specific application rules? This is like the Chase 524 rule or the Citi 18 rule. Most national banks have clear rules like this, but they're far less frequent in the regional banks like Truist. Now, if you want to download this whole bank funding checklist, I'll leave it as a Word doc for free. Just hit the link below. This is just one of the many business credit hacks that I show you in my 60-minute workshop, How to Fund Your Small Business in 30 Days or Less Without Proof of Income. In the workshop, you'll learn how to create a bulletproof credit profile that banks will approve instantly. You'll learn how to massively increase your approval chances by eliminating all of the business-killing mistakes banks always catch. You'll find out how to max out your credit limit with every bank using my proven relationship building strategies. You'll create a custom funding sequence to get your business funded by the top banks with the least amount of inquiries. Plus, as a bonus, I include my 0% APR credit card master list with over 130 banks and my Net 30 vendor master list with over 70 business vendors. Using the hacks from this workshop, I recently got approved for a $21,000 business credit card with Chase. So hit the link below to finally start getting your business funded with tens of thousands of dollars without docs or proof of income. Now, the next bank I want to talk about is PNC Bank, and their reputation is so good that I opened an account with them just last week for my business Barton Media LLC. One business owner had some exciting news about their latest approval with PNC. Check this out. They said, I got approved for a PNC business credit card with a $16,000 limit. They're offering a 0% introductory rate for the first 13 months on balance transfers. So here's what went down. Last Monday, I opened a business account with PNC. Then on Friday, I decided to apply online for their credit card. A few hours later, they gave me a call to verify my identity. Fast forward to this morning, and I get the email saying I'm approved for a $16,000 limit. Talk about a great start to my day. And for those who might not know, PNC does a hard pull on Experian when you apply. My score was sitting at 761 with just 2 inquiries in the last 6 months. I heard they were pretty conservative with approvals, but I decided to give it a shot anyway. And guess what? They surprised me with a fantastic starting limit, especially considering I had no prior banking relationship with them. This just goes to show that you don't necessarily need a long history with a bank to get some solid results. Sure, it might help, but it's definitely not a deal breaker. Keep that in mind when you're thinking about applying for a new card. Now, typically regional and local banks are less inquiry sensitive than national banks, so instead of worrying about your number of hard inquiries in the last 6 months, you should pay closer attention to the number of hard inquiries you have in the last 60 days. And here's another data point from PNC. They said, I've got some news to share. I recently got the green light for not just 1, but 2 PNC products. The Business Options Visa Signature Credit Card, and a small business line of credit. I shot for the stars asking for $50,000 each, but hey, I'm not complaining about a $25,000 limit on both. PNC's way of coding things is pretty interesting. You just let them know what you need credit-wise, and they get to work with a quick underwriting process. And the best part is, they only do a soft pull on Equifax, so your credit score doesn't take a hit. Here's my hunch. I think my applications for both products were merged somehow. I noticed a couple of soft pulls from PNC on my credit report. They seem to focus on a few things: a personal credit score over 750, low credit utilization, a squeaky clean credit history, some solid established business credit, and at least 2 years in the business game. Plus, they really want you to be clear about why you need the credit. I played it a bit safe and started with the minimum credit amounts to kick off the relationship. I was hoping to bump those numbers up later. It really seems like the strategy paid off, and I gotta say the service at PNC is absolutely top notch. With my credit in great shape, an Equifax score of 815, no recent inquiries, low utilization, and strong business credit scores, I managed to dodge the usual hard pulls and didn't even need to hand over a ton of paperwork like tax returns. So here's my biggest takeaway from the experience. When you're chatting with PNC about your business credit needs, honesty and clarity is your best friend. And if things aren't lining up perfectly, try applying in person at a branch. And I think a big point here is business credit scores aren't the be-all end-all. What they look for is at least 1 vendor account reporting to each business credit bureau. Ideally, you'd have 3 per bureau reporting to get the best results. And did you notice how the first data point mentions they pull from Equifax and the second data point says PNC pulls from Experian? That's because the bureau a bank pulls from is not fixed. It can vary based on your location, the product you're applying for, and any changes to their internal processes. Moving on, let's talk about the third bank, which is First Citizens Bank. This bank is super high on my list for this year, and you're going to see why in a second. The first business owner said, I just got the green light for a $20,000 credit line on the First Citizens Bank low interest business credit card. And let me tell you, it feels like finding a hidden treasure. It comes with 0% intro APR for the first 12 months. The journey started with a visit to their website, but it quickly pointed me towards a local branch. The folks there were super helpful and suggested opening a business checking account to build a relationship first. They said they typically bring in new clients through referrals. I'd say they take a thorough approach by pulling credit from all 3 bureaus, then combining personal and business credit scores. I was totally upfront with them about my scores. On the personal side, I had a TransUnion score of 752, Experian at 746, and Equifax at 753. And for business, I had a Dun & Bradstreet of 80 and Experian Business at 67, but a low Equifax score of 380. So I dashed over to the branch, sent them my incorporation documents via email, and kickstarted the new account with a quick $100 deposit at their ATM. Applying for a credit card was a breeze. I just needed my ID, incorporation articles, business EIN, social security number, and annual income. And within just a half an hour of leaving the bank, they ring me up and say I was auto-approved for a $20,000 limit. The rep even complimented me about how good my credit was. I'm so excited about this new approval. And here's a few more data points for you. My overall personal credit utilization is at 35%. I've been running my business since 2003 and became an LLC in 2014. And then I transitioned into an S Corp in 2016. Now, after seeing those data points, I think the smartest move they made was going into the branch to open the account and apply in person. That way, the banker could put a face to the application, which is always a plus. And then the bank rep mentioned they pull all 3 credit bureaus, but that's highly unlikely. They could mean 1 or 2 things here. that they either pull all three bureaus anytime you apply for a credit, or that they pull randomly from one of the three bureaus every single time, which is more likely the case. I'm guessing that the representatives have been trained to say that they pull from all three bureaus to avoid getting into the nitty-gritty of their internal processes. Now, if you're doing more research on this bank, you may have better luck talking to a second or third rep from the bank to see if they're willing to give you more information. The fact that their business credit scores are low proves that banks aren't too hung up on them, at least when it comes to business credit cards. They're more interested in seeing if you have a vendor or two reporting in the first place. It's truly your personal credit that they scrutinize the most. But I really think that their time in business is a huge plus here. All you really need is 2 years in business to be eligible for business loans and lines of credit, so they're more than qualified for business credit cards. And their personal credit utilization rate shocked me. Sitting at 35% is way too high. You should aim to keep it in the single digits, usually between 1 and 9%. And remember, FICO score high achievers usually have an average utilization of 7%. When you average in all the data points and the FICO scores throughout this whole video, you'll find the average FICO score for every person was 780. But you shouldn't get discouraged here. All you really need is a 680 to 700 score to get approved in most cases. You know, everybody gets denied or gets approved with a super low starting limit at some point in time, but you have to keep going, especially with so many options for funding out here. There's even an option for people with bad personal credit, but good business revenue to get funding. You can even get up to $250,000 in business funding without good credit, no hard credit check, and no personal guarantee either. And you can even send that money as cash directly to your business checking account. You can check that out in the next video to see exactly how it works. Thank you for watching.